In this tutorial, we will learn how to set up a WebEx session for the virtual classroom. My name is Ryan Wilson, and my number is 675-3288. If you should have any questions after watching this tutorial, feel free to give me a call. The first thing we need to do to set up our WebEx session is to open a web browser. For the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to use Google Chrome. Now, Firefox works just fine, and IE Explorer works fine as well. However, I do recommend Firefox or Chrome because I've experienced less difficulties using those browsers. Once we have a browser pulled up, we are going to type in a URL, and that URL is cccs.webex.com. Press enter, and I'm going to click on the host login button. When I click on that button, a new window should pop up, and you need to use your username. Mine is ryan.wilson, and the password that you use to log into a computer on the CNCC network, or the password you use to check your email. Once I'm logged in, I will see that my name at cncc.edu is up here in the right-hand corner. So where we want to go is the Training Center. Once we are in the Training Center, we are going to create a new training session. To do that, we are going to look over here on the left-hand side, and we're going to click Schedule a Training. Now, as soon as Schedule a Training pulls up, we will have many options to choose from as we build this particular class. So we are going to call our class WebEx Training. You might call yours the name of your course, which is highly recommended. We are going to set a session password that your students will need to know. I usually like to use the password capital ABC1234. ABC1234, and it is important that you have one capital letter in your password. Now you notice here this training session is listed for all, listed for authorized users only, or unlisted. You can choose listed for all or unlisted. We're going to keep it at listed for all. Now you do want to unclick automatically delete session after it ends, because sometimes you might have to end a session and then come back into it. And you should click this box saying send a copy of the attendee invitation to me. That way you can send that to your students. Under audio conference settings, you want to use VoIP only. Now, if you use VoIP only, please understand that your students must have a microphone and speaker connected to their computer. If not, they will not be able to hear or speak during your WebEx session. All students are told of this when they register for a virtual classroom. I do like to say mute attendees upon entry. That just prevents any feedback from happening. And now we're going to choose the start time. So we're going to say January 7th, 2014 at 5:30 p.m. Looks good. Notice you can choose a different day. You just click on the calendar. And when that pulls up, you can actually navigate to the day that you want to choose. You can see here we're in the month of January, and you can go to any of the many months that are in there. Now, most likely you are going to want this to be a reoccurring single session class. Attendees can register for this if you want to have that, but we usually don't recommend that. So you can see here reoccurrence means that every Tuesday at 5:30 students will meet. Now we're going to say it ends at the end of the semester, which is May 10th, 2014. Again, there's a little calendar icon that you can use to end that particular date. Usually our VC classes are about 3 hours in length, so I'm going to change that to 3 hours. And notice here I am not choosing require attendee registration or automatically approve all registration requests. The idea is they've already registered for the class, so we don't need them to register again. If you have a list of all of your attendees' emails or personal emails, you can put them in here. If you have a guest presenter, you can put their email in there as well. Session options, we usually just leave that blank. And destination address after session, I always like to go ahead and put in the home page for CNCC, which is www.cncc.edu. Under breakout session assignment settings, you notice that some students can break out and have their own session. For this particular one, we are not going to do that. Email options, I usually leave the same. Now, session information is a good place to put your agenda. Learn how to use WebEx for the virtual classroom. You could be more specific if you want. And notice you can even import a picture. Under course material, if you have a course syllabus, it's not a bad idea to go ahead and add your course material or syllabus to this particular WebEx. And most likely you're not going to be using a test. So we are going to go ahead and say schedule after we're done with all that. The one thing to really keep in mind is that you do need to select use VoIP only. If we choose WebEx audio, it will actually cost the university or the college money for everybody who uses a phone. So we need to use VoIP only. So let's go down and let's say schedule. Once you schedule the session, notice that it'll give you a thank you message. You have successfully scheduled your session. So shortly before your session starting time, click the start link for your session in the WebEx page. So you will also receive an email giving you all of this information to be able to access it. Notice that it's scheduled for all of these particular dates, and we're going to go ahead and say OK. Now you can add this to your calendar if you're using some kind of calendar software. It's basically a file that you'd have to load into your calendar, and you can also go back and edit all this information you've already done. So we're going to click OK, and now we know that our WebEx training session has been scheduled at 5:30 today. In the next tutorial, we will look a little bit more in depth of how to use WebEx while you're teaching. Thanks for watching.